I interview experts all over the world about various aspects of the new energy economy, utilities, electric vehicles, on and on. And one thing that's consistent through all of that is rapid change, rapid, especially around technology, but also in policy and finance and other areas. That gets really hard to navigate. If you're a community or a local government or a transit authority, something like that, navigating rapid change is not easy. So the Canadian Urban Transit Research and Investment Consortium has put together a planning tool for Canadian transit authorities as they electrify. And I know this sounds kind of wonky and policy oriented, but it's really important. So we're going to talk to Josipa Petrunic, who's the CEO of CUTRIC. Welcome to the interview, Josipa.
Thank you for inviting me, Markham.
Now, from your point of view, did I accurately describe the landscape that the transit authorities are navigating these days?
Yeah, it's fair to say it sounds chaotic right now, and it is a little bit chaotic, but it's positive chaotic energy, so I won't degrade it in any way. And compared to 5 years ago, it was oversimplification. People saw electrification coming, but they really thought it would be an easy one-to-one diesel bus replacement, like a heart transplant. Take this heart out, put that heart in, but everything else will operate the same. And just a couple years ago, with the first pilots going out the door, everybody in transit, certainly in Canada, started realizing, oh my God, these buses don't work the same way. They don't go as far. They need so much energy at the facility. We don't have the transformers. It's complicated, and now it's chaotic. It's not a bad kind of chaos. That transformation learning had to happen. So we developed a tool to try to make it as simple as possible for agencies to figure out how far will the bus go and what will it cost you. So what do you need to buy?
So let's talk about that tool, which I'm going to mispronounce now. Thank you very much. RoutΣ.i,
all of it works.
2.0.
We say RoutΣ.i, but Rowdy is kind of nice too.
After I mangled that question so elegantly, could tell us about RoutΣ 2.0.
Sure. So the RoutΣ.i tool is now in its second generation. And essentially what we did was a few years ago, we started off by saying, look, you think it's going to be really simple. Let us at least mathematically show you by the laws of physics, how far will these buses go? Because there's only a certain amount of energy in the battery pack. There's a lot of people on the bus. The bus has to travel fast, winter conditions, heating is on. All of this eats up energy. And batteries are just nowhere near as dense as diesel fuel in terms of an energy pack. So we started off a few years ago just modeling what the buses look like, what their powertrains look like, how much energy their motors use. And then we put it on the routes. We topographically modeled out what the cities look like their actual terrain, how hilly it is, et cetera. And we modeled out, like, when is your bus going to run out of power? And the results of that led us to add a whole bunch of new variables. Things like, okay, we know your bus is going to run out of power 50% into its route or 20% into its route. So how much power do you need to deliver to it at charging stations in the middle of the city throughout the day? Okay, how many charging stations do you need? Okay, how much energy is that going to be? And what's your bill going to look like? So we started building out RoutΣ.i 2.0 to be able to basically model and predict how will your battery electric and hydrogen fuel cell electric buses work as soon as they exit the depot? How many people can they move? When will they run out of energy? Will they need a refueling episode if it's hydrogen? What will it cost you? And now, most importantly, certainly in this era, we've started to introduce things like, how does COVID-19 affect your return on investment? If you're spending millions of dollars, but you have a quarter of the ridership, what is your payoff period? And we've started to look at noise pollution so that we can assess which communities, in particular economically disadvantaged communities, racialized communities, or communities with healthcare zones like hospitals and seniors homes, if they might be the best ones to apply an electric bus to because of the sound pollution reduction. So that's what RoutΣ.i does. It tells you basically how the systems will work and where you're best placed to deploy your electric buses first.
Now, this has some interest to Canadian taxpayers because, of course, the federal government just committed $15 billion to the electrification of transit in Canada. And I would imagine that you've got a lot of transit authorities very interested in using your tool now.
Absolutely, because basically what the tool does is it tells you from a fuel economy standpoint, as an example, we're all used to how many liters per 100 kilometers our car goes. Well, in the transit electrification world, it's kilowatt hours per kilometer, or it's kilograms of hydrogen per kilometer. So they all really want to know, like, what is it? Is it 1.2 kilowatt hours per kilometer? Is it 1.5? Is it 2 kilowatt hours per kilometer? What is it? Because a battery pack with 200 kilowatt hours on board, if it takes 2 kilowatt hours per kilometer to move, you only have 100 kilometers. But if in your city it's only 1 kilowatt hour per kilometer, then you have 200 kilometers of range on the same battery pack. Like, that's a massive difference. And you can imagine these batteries are not cheap. A diesel bus is $600,000. An average electric bus is 1.1 million. An average hydrogen fuel cell bus is 1.4 to 1.7 million. So you're talking about a lot of taxpayer dollars. You want to make sure that you do not overbuy or underbuy. If you overbuy, you're wasting money, the taxpayer's dollar, and you don't have that money as a transit agency. If you underbuy, your buses are going to run out of power and energy. You won't be able to move the right people, and people will be upset. So it's an extremely precise calculation that they've never had to do before. Frankly, diesel was cheap and we could waste a lot of it and not worry about it.
Josipa, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for the interview.